I title this Ayats of History or Tariqul Islam. The ayats and the history of Islam. But this would be more like general patterns, general ayats in history. Do y'all remember the other day I was talking about General Patton had a slight belief in reincarnation? Yeah. And he, during World War II, he saw the people had coming in carts. You know, that's when the Germans had been really wore down. And he remembered whether it was the Peloponnesian War or one of those. He was a semi-student of history. He remembered that the carts were full of the carts. He remembered the carts. And for Patton, this gave him a picture that it was about finished for the German Reich. So there are signs in history. We also know certain things about Nero fiddled while Rome burned. Technically, I don't believe while Rome was burning, he was sitting there with a fiddle, you know. I believe it's an analogy of as Rome was being compromised and destroyed, he was just paralyzed. He didn't know what to do. You know, it's like right now, with what's going on in America, all the signs of paralysis, all the signs of psychological depravity and inactivity, all the signs of decline, the ayats, all present. And I want to mention a few. First of all, when you're in prison and a riot happens, the first thing everybody do is move toward. It's a mixture of people there, you know, like if you're in the field house or something. So when a riot happens, everybody go to their team. All the black people huddle together, the Spanish people, it's automatic. You don't have to worry about it. They all huddle together because that's where safety is safety. You wouldn't even think about, well, in those days, looking for safety amongst white boys, maybe Mexicans, but not Euros because that's the one you're really going to usually be fighting. So when a riot happens, everybody retreats to home base, and home base is usually their people. So if you look at America right now, America reminds us of something that, what was it in history about the white lady from France? They said the people of Paris are starving. Marie Antoinette, she said, let them eat cake, right? Let them eat cake. Not only just bread. The people of Paris need bread. Well, that ain't nothing to shoot. Because they cut her head off for saying that. They probably thought she was just being funny. We're starving to death. We tell you we need bread. You up here in the palace and you say, let us have cake. We'll see about that. How you like the guillotine? Guillotine from Gillette. You know Gillette blades? Guillotine. Same thing. Sharp as a razor. Okay. So today we're going to talk about we had certain other things in mind we definitely was going to talk about. But where right now, it just hit me like you have to just talk about there's certain things, the patterns of history right now. We already talked about in stage one, when a riot happens, you already go to your mutual corner, that is your team. The next thing you do is you have to recognize who's here, what's going on. You know, that's the purpose of getting to your mutual team. Okay. And that's the way America is getting ready to do right now. America evidently don't know it, but if we take anything from the things that we've been talking about over the years, now the last time we did this really clear and specific was actually, it was 10, 11 years ago. You know, when we outlined the steps of decline, but also the steps of development. That it would not be what was they calling it? They were saying it was a rebellion, there's a revolution over there. Tahrir Square, huh? Arab Spring. We said, ain't no Arab Spring, ain't gonna be nothing. Don't worry about it. And I knew for sure it wasn't nothing when Muhammad al-Asi and what's the name, the brother that's head of the Islamic Civil Rights, Human Rights Commission, because they had just sent me over to Switzerland to attend a program that wasn't going on. They was just having fun with me, you know. So they sent me over there, and it was no program. Not only that, but the plane was held up out there at Dulles, and the pilot said, I've never seen nothing like this before. In other words, he'd been given an order that he wasn't used to following, and he didn't like it at all. You could tell when he was saying that the United States government was holding up his plane. Okay, why? Because if you hold up a plane, if there's transit, which it is, there's people going to Africa, there's people going to other parts of Europe. I was just going to Geneva, to Switzerland. Other people was going everywhere else in the world. And if they hold the plane up, that means the people, the airline got to keep you an extra day. You either stay into the airport for the next plane or they give you a hotel. So the airline is aware of all this. The pilot is aware of all this. If we don't make our connecting flight, if we don't get off the ground in 10 minutes, we're not going to make our connecting flight. So they held us up past, you won't have to worry, you're not going to make no connecting flight. They held us up. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and by the time we left, it was about 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, because we onboarded the plane and we, yeah. Yeah, it was, they was deep. This didn't happen once. They was deep when they was messing with me. It was real deep. Okay. So, in this case, if y'all would remember in history, Fatih, Constantinople, 1451, that's when the so-called Ottoman Empire rose to its proper, it was big. So it captured Constantinople in 1451. And everybody else, and even they thought that was a great victory. But since they was controlling the Middle East, the rest of the world had to find a way to get around. They talking about they had to get around they had to get around the Middle East. So they had all heard about the world is round, or they was thinking about it. So they said that's why they call the people over here Indians, right? Because they thought they had went around and found India, right? They wanted to get over there, and they had all kind of estimates of the world, the circumference of the world. If this is this way, this is that way. If you got to be so up high on the mast to see, because if you just right there at water level, you can't see but a block or two because the earth is round, right? So in order to see 20 miles out there, you got to be up on the crow's nest. They had enough sense to know all of that. So they figured this thing is round. You know what I mean? That old stuff about a flat earth, it was so flat, why we got to be up so high to see? So they just drawing pictures and said, if we got to be up so high to see out so far, that means there's a curvature. And so they start estimating the curvature. That's why they estimated the earth wasn't 25,000 miles around, 24,986,000 square miles. That's actual facts, of course. That it's actually around 20,000. They wasn't far off. So anyway, what appeared to be a great victory for the Muslims was not a great victory. You notice the Ottomans didn't do anything with colonialism? Why did the Spanish and the Portuguese, the Portuguese, why they got Angola and all them places? Because the Vasco da Gama just said, well, what I'll do is, this is Africa, I'll go down here a ways. They built a little fort, then I go down a little further. After so many years, they went around Africa. That's why the Portuguese had colonies on both sides. Okay. So then they realized that, India is right over there. So they just call it the Indian Ocean over there, The point is this. The reason we don't speak any Spanish anywhere around, is because our conquest was related to the world that they understood at those times. That's why we had a lot of Muslims in Malaysia, Indonesia, and all of that stuff, But not over here. Why? Because the Spanish, the Inquisition, had just about lynched everybody, and give them a little torture. And there's a couple of people, like Umar is a special name down in South America. This one guy called Nasrullah. Nasrullah? Yeah, right down there somewhere here. I said, Nasrullah, good for you. That might get you saved, boy, but of course he be killing everybody, but still he got a good name. So the point I'm making is, the thing 1451 that should have been a great victory for the Muslims, and it went on for 400-500 years. It was good, but it boxed them in. They were focused on their stuff. They had a little stuff in North Africa and around, but when it got up to these close centuries and they were being attacked by all the other countries, a lot of the people in Africa had bayah to them. All they had to do was send them some troops and send them some help down there. They'd have knocked off the French, they'd have knocked off the British, they'd have knocked over everybody. But then we wouldn't have history like we got now. You see what I mean? It would have been different. That's why there's certain parts of history that, it says right here on the thing that Allah will help you from avenues that you couldn't even recognize. But it also talks about when Allah have destined the ascendancy or decline of a nation, it's all written. And Allah also says in the Quran that those people, they wasn't just planless, they had plans and schemes to stay in pocket, America has plans and schemes to stay in pocket. But I'm sorry, America is finished. The United States of America is finished, and it smells close. And that's why I'm giving the talk today, because I said I had to talk about this, because I can't listen to the news. It's right around the block, right somewhere. It's close, is what I'm talking about. So there are signs in the universe, and there are signs in ourselves. And there's historical signs that are repetitive. So technically, Nero didn't play the fiddle while Rome was burning, but he was inactive and he didn't do anything.